If your sleep is characterized by highs and lows, this kind of roller coaster of nights of lots of sleep followed by a night of very little or no sleep, then there is something you can do to bring more consistency and predictability to your sleep. And this is what I'm going to be talking about in today's video. Hi, I'm Martin Reed. If you have insomnia, I offer sleep coaching programs that will give you all the skills and support you need to enjoy better sleep for the rest of your life. You can learn more at insomniacoach.com. Now, a reasonably common kind of characteristic that I see in people who are struggling with sleep is this really big swing of sleep durations from night to night. This real inconsistency in sleep duration. So for example, one night someone might get 7, 8, 9 hours of sleep, and then the next night maybe an hour, maybe 2 hours, maybe no sleep at all. And then the next night, maybe again another night of little to no sleep. And then the next night, again, a huge chunk of sleep. So if you recognize this characteristic in your own sleep, first of all, there is a certain reassuring aspect, believe it or not, to this, because it shows that your sleep drive system is working as it should be. With enough wakefulness, sleep drive will always make sleep happen in the end. So if you experience a night or two, maybe even longer stretch of very little to no sleep, you will reach that point where staying awake becomes impossible. You will sleep. And so for some people, this can mean a huge chunk of sleep, 7, 8, 9 hours, maybe even more. And then sleep drive is reduced because you've got that big chunk of sleep. And this, unfortunately, can then make sleep the following night more difficult. And so you kind of get led into this roller coaster of highs and lows. Now, these highs and lows are typically seen when people are not following any kind of sleep schedule, or they're not allotting an appropriate amount of time for sleep. In other words, you're allotting too much time for sleep, or you're just allowing yourself to sleep for as long as you're able to every day. Now, of course, this feels great on those days when you get a big chunk of sleep, but it doesn't feel good on those days when you're really struggling. Allotting an appropriate amount of time for sleep prevents you from getting an excessive amount of sleep and reducing sleep drive too much on any given night. So this helps sustain a certain amount of sleep drive to help you sleep on subsequent nights. When you're not following any kind of consistent sleep window, it becomes really easy to sleep for far longer. So when you sleep for much longer in the day, then sleep drive has less time to build during the day to help you sleep the following night. So although it feels really good when you get that long stretch of sleep, it only feels good for that night. You're not going to be helping yourself over the long term because it's likely going to have a negative impact and make sleep a little bit more difficult the following night. So if you want to build some consistency in your sleep, it's really important to have an appropriate and consistent sleep window, to avoid going to sleep before that sleep window begins, and to always be out of bed by the end of that sleep window every single day, even if you think you're capable of getting more sleep. Sometimes it is worth sacrificing an hour or two of sleep on one night in order to build long-term improvements in your sleep over time. So if you look at your sleep over the past week or two, add up your nightly sleep duration every single night and get an average. So even if your sleep is really inconsistent and you get big swings, that doesn't matter because you're looking at your sleep over a week or two. Then figure out what your average nightly sleep duration is. Add about half an hour to this, but make sure that you're allotting no less than around 5 to 5.5 hours for sleep. And then only allow yourself that much opportunity for sleep. So let's say you've got an average nightly sleep duration of, say, 5.5 hours. If you give yourself that 5.5 hours or maybe 6 hours for sleep, that will be a sleep window of, to make the math simple, midnight to 6 a.m. If you don't allow yourself to go to bed before midnight, to sleep before midnight, but you always are out of bed by 6 a.m. every day, sleep drive will always be building outside of your sleep window when you're not sleeping. So eventually sleep drive will reach that point where, as you've experienced yourself, you will sleep. By observing an appropriate and consistent sleep window, you'll be reducing the amount of time you spend awake during the night. You'll be building sleep drive. And if you only allow yourself to sleep during the sleep window that you've come up with, that is when sleep will happen. And instead of experiencing highs and lows, big swings in sleep duration each night, your sleep will become more predictable and more consistent. And as you start to get some regularity in your sleep and spend less time awake during the night, you'll also feel more confident about your natural ability to sleep. So as a result, sleep will become easier and less stressful. And as you start to fill that sleep window with sleep on a more consistent basis, you can then start extending the sleep window out and allotting more time for sleep, giving yourself the opportunity to get more sleep if your body needs it. So ultimately, if you're experiencing these big swings in your sleep from night to night, it's almost always a sign that you are allotting too much time for sleep each night, or you're not observing any kind of consistent sleep schedule, particularly when it comes to a consistent out of bedtime in the morning. So I'd really encourage you to look into sleep restriction therapy for insomnia, which is a terrible name because it implies we're restricting sleep, but we're not. We're just restricting the amount of time you allot for sleep to make sure it's more appropriate for the amount of time that you're typically spending asleep on any given night. And if you do this, your sleep will become more consistent. Ultimately, we can only expect consistent sleep if we have a consistent sleep schedule. So I hope you found this short video helpful. If you did, please click the like button and subscribe to the channel, and click the notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. I do try and share some new sleep snippet videos every week. If you have any questions, comments, feedback or suggestions for a future video, please leave a comment below, or you can email me directly. My email address is hello@insomniacoach.com. Thanks for watching, and as always, I'd like to leave you with this important reminder. You can sleep.